All right, today we're talking about engineering financial integrity, specifically something called the Zero-Repaint protocol. It's a pretty clever solution to a massive problem that, honestly, most traders don't even know they have.
Yeah, what if your financial charts are just lying to you? It's a pretty intense question, right? But it really gets to the heart of a huge issue in trading. Imagine this. What if that picture-perfect entry signal you're looking at on your chart just wasn't actually there when it counted? And that leads us right into this concept of indicator repainting. It's this really common but critical flaw where an indicator literally, it redraws its own history. A buy signal that would have cost you a ton of money, poof, it might just vanish. And a winning one, that might appear after the fact, making everything look perfect. It's not just a little glitch, it's a straight-up form of data falsification.
Okay, so here's how we're going to break this all down. First, we'll look at what our source calls the hindsight illusion. Then we'll dive into the solution, the Zero-Repaint protocol. We'll see how it locks in data, figure out how to read its visual language, and wrap up with why reliability is way more important than just trying to be predictable.
All right, first up, the hindsight illusion. We're going to unmask the problem. This is all about how these repainting indicators can create this really dangerous, false sense of confidence and lead traders to make decisions based on data that just isn't real.
And this really is the core issue. So many standard tools out there suffer from what's called hindsight bias. A signal pops up, right? But then the market moves against it and poof! The signal just vanishes from your chart like it was never even there. Of course, this makes the indicator look absolutely flawless in retrospect, but it's a dangerous illusion that can totally wreck a trading account.
So how in the world do you fight a data illusion? Well, you fight it with engineering. Let's get into the solution that our source material presents, the Zero-Repaint protocol. And this right here really gets to the core philosophy behind the protocol. Think about it. Treating trade signals like industrial inspection records. Imagine quality control in heavy industry. An inspection record. That's immutable. You just can't go back and change the stress test results for a steel beam after the building is already up. This system applies that exact same hardcore logic to financial signals. And this is absolutely crucial. The goal here isn't to create some beautiful, perfect-looking chart. Not at all. The goal is to create an honest one. This whole protocol is built from the ground up to make sure that what you see in a historical backtest is precisely what you would have seen in a live market. No edits, no deletions, no funny business.
Okay, that all sounds great in theory, right? But how does it actually work on a technical level? Let's dig into the mechanics of how this system actually locks in the data to make it totally unchangeable. Well, the whole architecture is built on this really fundamental data principle. Write once, read forever. It's simple but powerful. Once a piece of data, in this case a trade signal, is written to the record, it can never be altered or erased. It's locked in, it's committed. And this lays out the process perfectly. So a potential signal might pop up while a price candle is still forming, while the price is still moving around. But the system doesn't jump the gun. It waits. It waits for the ultimate confirmation, the close of that candle. Only after that candle is officially closed and the signal survives one final super strict logic check, then it gets permanently locked into the system. And at that point, it absolutely cannot disappear.
A robust backend is pretty useless without a clear user interface, right? So let's see how all this strict behind-the-scenes logic actually translates into something a user can read and, act on.
Okay, this is a fantastic visual example of what we're talking about. On the left, you can see a signal forming at 10:31 in the morning. Now look at the right. That's the very same chart, but at the end of the day. And notice, that signal is still right there exactly where it first appeared. It survived the candle close, it got permanently locked, and now it provides a totally verifiable audit trail.
The system also gives you this really handy, at-a-glance summary of market sentiment through what's called the bias panel. It's color-coded for instant recognition. Pretty simple. Green for bullish, red for bearish, and gray for neutral. Then that score next to it gives you a sense of the intensity of that feeling.
Let's look at a real-world example right here on this NASDAQ 100 chart. Take a look at that BIS panel. It's bright red, it's clearly labeled strong bearish, and it's got a score of -24. This immediately tells the user everything they need to know. There is significant downward momentum in the market right at that moment.
Now this is another really key part of the visual language. The system makes a clear distinction between a ghost state and a solid state. So a faded icon means the conditions are met, But, and this is the important part, the candle is still open. It's speculative. The user's action? Wait. But a bright, solid icon? That means the candle has closed. The signal is confirmed, and it's been locked in. That's the cue to execute.
Okay, so let's bring this all together. What is the ultimate benefit, the ultimate takeaway from this entire approach? It's really about a shift in priority, moving away from trying to be perfectly predictive to being completely and utterly reliable.
So why does any of this really matter? Well, for one, it completely eliminates data falsification. It guarantees that your backtesting results are 100% accurate reflections of what would have happened live. It creates an unchangeable audit trail. It separates all that speculative noise from actual confirmed data. And maybe most importantly, it fosters genuine, verifiable trust in the tools you're using.
And so we come full circle, back to this powerful idea. When you start treating your trading signals with the same rigor, the same seriousness as an industrial, ISO-certified audit log, you literally engineer hindsight bias completely out of the system. You're no longer working with data that might change, you're working with a permanent, unshakable record.
And that leaves us with one final, and I think crucial question to think about. In this world of complex algorithms and flickering charts, if the tools you rely on every single day aren't built on an unshakable foundation of data integrity, then what are they built on?